Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hellbent Holler Live. My name is Jesse. This is Joe, and this is our weekly show that we do every Monday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live here on our channel. If you've never seen this before, we basically come on here and we talk about all things weird, paranormal, UAPs, cryptids, things that go bump in the night. And we do that with our viewers and our friends and our fans who are lovingly referred to as the Hellbenders. And so we watch the chat the entire time we're doing this, and this is a fully interactive show. So if you have any questions or anything you want to say, we'll just put it up and we'll talk about it and we'll discuss it. A lot of these subjects are not off limits, so we've been known to go in some really crazy directions with some of these, but that's what most of the fun is that we don't really know what we're going to talk about or where we're going to go with it, and we just have real honest and open discussions about everything high strangeness. So I want to thank you guys for joining us, and it's been another crazy week as usual, and I think things are only getting weirder as we go along. So how's everybody doing? And let us know in the chat if you can hear us, see us, all of that good stuff, and we will get underway with the show. All right.
Got a regular MVP list here in the chat tonight. So,
yep, we do have Martin Groves here. We've got Bryce Edwards.
Let's do a quick roll down, shall we?
Yeah.
There's like 100 and some people in here. I can't do a quick roll down.
Nice.
So.
Very nice.
Deuster, Stingray, N85, Philip Payne, all the way from across the pond. Linda Bogger, April Black, Linda Dickerson. Lady Wolf is not feeling well. Jonestead Farm. Oxcura, can't remember if I'm pronouncing that right or not. Sugar Britches, Rick Does Paranormal. E-Rev is here. Take Two Wheels. And Rusty Shackelford. Gosshawk, our friend Gosshawk is here. War Criminal 7.
We know it's you, Dale Gribble. Vale
SWPA.
Perfect. Cool. And all right. I was just we've spent the last few days when we really don't consume a lot of media or TV or anything like that. But lately, the past few days, we've been really on a True Detective kick. But it's just the first season of True Detective. We've never seen the other seasons, and we've seen the first season a couple of times at this point. But we're rewatching the first season again. If you've never seen that, I highly recommend you check that out. So we actually got HBO Max for just that. That's got Matthew McConaughey in it and Woody Harrelson as two detectives in Louisiana in 1995, and they're investigating a strange occult-leaning murder. And the writing in it is just fantastic. And there's a lot of elements to it. The baseline story of it is based on The King in Yellow, which was a collection of short stories by Robert Chambers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very Lovecraftian. So
yeah, but the real core of it, and I had to look it up because I remember which parish it was. It was in Tangiabo Parish in
Tangifoa,
and near Lake Pontchartrain. There was a church up there that the pastor had been pastor there for like 30 years or whatever, and was involved in a giant satanic abuse ring.
Mm-hmm.
That had been going on for years. Lots of members of the church and in the community were like involved with it. It was like a big scandal. They were never quite able to get to the bottom of who all was involved or how far it went, because if you've ever lived in Louisiana, you know how corrupt it is down there.
Yes.
So a lot of political interference started coming up, and they were never able to really kind of figure out. There were state level officials involved, all sorts of people. It was just, there was secret chambers, rituals were performed, all under the cover of just a regular small town church. So.
Yeah. And you constantly hear about the Christ haunted South, but a lot of these places were using these Christian churches as a thing to hide behind and just a false mask for what they were really getting up to, which is essentially satanic ritual abuse and occult activity. What is really interesting about that is the place that we go and investigate in North Georgia. We've not seen anything to the extreme degree as a woman kneeling with a crown of thorns and antlers.
It's coming though.
But we're so worried that something like that eventually might happen. There's a lot of symbols being used. There are things created out of sticks, and stick structures are being made, small and large. So there's a lot of similarities between that. I just hope that what we're dealing with isn't actually as intense or goes as far as what goes on in that show or in that story that actually happened in Tangipahoa Parish. If you're at all familiar with Southern Louisiana, you know how remote a lot of those places are and how strange a lot of those places are.
A lot of times there's just one way in and out because it's an elevated highway over the swamp.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Henderson Swamp is really famous for a place that the mob in New Orleans used to go and dump bodies, because you'll never find something once you throw it into Henderson Swamp. So that and Bayou Black down in Houma, Louisiana, those are very, very remote areas, and you can get up to some really shady and crazy stuff and just stay far away from the eyes of other people.
New Orleans East is the part that everybody saw when Katrina hit. The flooded neighborhoods, people on rooftops. That was the one that just looked like apocalyptic. And if you go past that, the habited areas, the interstate, there's just little pull-offs, like exit ramps. Because originally they were going to kind of develop New Orleans in that direction. But they never did it. So these exit ramps are down there. So you take these exit ramps and you go down like a couple hundred yards, and then it just ends in the swamps right there.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stolen cars. There's a lot of
dumping
of various types goes on through those like little areas, man. So.
What's interesting about that area too, I know we're going off on a tangent here. This is pretty interesting stuff, in my opinion, though. What's interesting about that area too is that stretch of highway in New Orleans East between Lake Pontchartrain and New Orleans itself, the city proper. It gets really, really foggy super early in the morning, so it's very, very dangerous. Along that stretch of highway is where Jane Mansfield was a passenger in a vehicle driven by her manager. And Jane Mansfield was a passenger, and the vehicle actually went underneath a 18-wheeler tractor trailer, and it actually decapitated her. And her two children were in the back seat, and they actually survived. One of her children was Mariska Hargitay from Law and Order SVU, that she had with a bodybuilder by the last name of Hargitay. But yeah, she was decapitated out there. And I think Joe told me this a long time ago, that Jane Mansfield was involved with the Church of Satan and Anton LaVey.
Anton LaVey and all that. And he told her not to. She asked him, she was trying to get away from, and I'm probably butchering this story. She was trying to get away from her manager, her agent, something like that. And Anton LaVey was like, all right, I'll take care of it, but you need to distance yourself from him afterwards, because I guess the guy was like abusive, very controlling. Well, she ended up like going back with him, and they were on the road to New Orleans, man, and they got
and that's why they actually put those bars underneath the back of tractor trailers. They're a safety bar, but the colloquial term for them is the Mansfield bar, because it actually decapitated her.
There you go. We're starting off on a positive note tonight. So yeah. All right. Paul asks, speaking of Lovecraftian, any thoughts on the nameless horror of Berkeley Square? I don't know that much about it, other than it's like 50 Berkeley Square. There was a lot of hauntings that went on there, and there was supposedly some sort of like physical entity in the house. I just remember the thing that sticks out to me about the story is that people would try to debunk it and go there, and it would just be like crazy times. There was a British lord that was fairly prominent in British politics, went there to kind of debunk it, but yet he took his shotgun with him, even though he went there to debunk it. Well, he ended up like setting off rounds in the house because he was seeing like what he claimed were apparitions and everything like that. So I don't know. We might need to look into that story a little bit more. I just know the bare bones of it. So anyway, what y'all got this week? What y'all got?
So I called Joe earlier today, and you can go through the chat and see if there's anything up there, and I'll just talk about this for a second. Called Joe earlier today, and he was at work, and we were talking, and I was like, God, it just seems like there's not a lot going on in terms of the paranormal at large. There's not like a lot of crazy stuff when it comes to cryptids going on or anything like that. It seems like that the main focus right now and where things are really ramping up is with the UAP phenomenon. So I figure at some point we are really going to touch on that because there's a lot of stuff going on with that right now, and that is definitely
Well, it's the reason why that's getting so much buzz, I think, right now is because it's like it's the acceptable topic that you can discuss right now.
yeah.
Physical things on the ground, Bigfoot, Dogman to a lesser extent is still kind of forbidden. It's kind of crazy talk, you
Yeah.
know.
I just see in a few years though that where we are with the UAP subject, where you have, you know, open discussion on it, and then you have bills going through Congress successfully funding for projects like Arrow, and they have 14 people working under Arrow at this point.
24.
24. It's receiving federal funding.
So all right, so let's
I think that
eventually be real quick, okay?
Okay.
Because we were talking about Arrow. Some of the interesting stuff that came out this week is that Gary Nolan interview that you and I both watched separately.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
Gary Nolan is a professor at Stanford University. He has a ton of biomedical patents
how many
and
patents does
runs
that dude have?
several biomedical companies. That's where he's made his hay over the years.
He's got screw you money, basically.
Yes,
so he can do whatever he
yes.
wants to at this point.
He's always had an interest in the UAP phenomenon. He's actually been consulted about the physical effects of UAPs on people who have encountered them. And we make jokes about this, that he's known for his non-answer answers when it comes to a lot about this. And I think that's simply because he knows so much, and because the people that he knows have told him so many things that he's not been allowed to divulge up until this point.
And he's always very hesitant to offer a theory or just an opinion, because he's always like, it'll just get twisted, and the next thing you know is it'll be like, Gary Nolan said this is true.
Yeah.
So he drops some good little nuggets, but he plays stuff close to the
most of the time. But
Yeah.
he spoke at the SALT conference in New York City. I think it was Thursday. And he pretty much turned the UFO and UAP world on its head by, it was a very short kind of discussion that he had with the moderator, Alex, there. It was kind of a short discussion, but it pretty much blew the lid off of everything, because for the first time in a very, very long time, Gary Nolan was actually very forthcoming with information. He was very matter of fact with information, to the point where they asked him, what is the possibility that extraterrestrials have actually visited our planet? And he said 100%. Without a moment's hesitation, he said 100%. He has never been that upfront with it at all. What's going on?
It was pretty crazy, because the moderator, I don't know the moderator's name, but he was just like, in your opinion, you know, has there been like extraterrestrial intelligences on this planet?
Yeah.
And he just went, yes.
100%.
And then he goes, yeah, well, you had a pretty quick answer. What degree of probability? And he just went 100%.
Well, you know, and there's a lot of things there's a lot of stuff to unpack from that interview. And it wasn't really an interview. It was more like he went out there and just let it all go. There's a lot of stuff to unpack from that as well, that he was so forthcoming with that he thinks it's 100%. He actually lodged an opinion. He's kind of reminds me of David Paulides in the way that he doesn't want to like directly lodge an opinion
until he has like the data.
He has like the data to support.
And I think at this point he has the data that he can, without hesitation, say 100%.
Also during this, he mentioned that there is technology that has been recovered from downed craft, and that there's been retro engineering on this.
Reverse engineering. And he said that there had been a congressional behind the doors, closed doors debriefing this past weekend that he said basically kicked a hornet's nest, where someone who's taking advantage of that recent legislation where whistleblowers can come forward without threat of legal consequences.
Yeah.
So even if you just signed a non-disclosure agreement, you can testify behind closed. You can't come out and get on the cover of the New York Times, but you know, behind closed doors, testify to members of Congress. There's been some back channel talks about there has been protection offered to certain people because they are worried about, I'm not worried about them taking me to court. I'm worried about me drowning in my bathtub, you know what I'm saying, one night, or, you know, they find me hanging from a tree with a shotgun blast to my back and they rule it suicide. That there's been, but anyway.
Well, I mean, they're not blowing the whistle on Hillary. They're blowing
Don't do
whistle.
that. We'll get kicked off YouTube. Please don't do that. Anyway,
Okay, I'm
but
sorry.
yeah,
Sorry.
we probably, I'm watching viewers drop off now left and right. So
All right.
now we'll end up dead in the bathtub tonight. Separate bathtubs.
If you
Okay.
chastise me,
Yeah.
yes, of course
But
you will. Anyway, sorry, I made a joke.
So-
Anyway, so he did directly mention though that there are people that he spoke to directly that have told him directly that they were the people that actually worked on this material, that they actually were the people that studied this material and were retro engineering or reverse engineering some of this stuff. I thought that was absolutely huge.
He said the person that testified this past weekend, his exact words were kicked a hornet's nest in DC. He worked for, this gentleman came in, worked in crash retrieval and in reverse engineering of like literal physical like craft. And when he said, he had another good thing too that addressed this whole thing about like, well, if they traveled here, they're too advanced for us to like take down. And his thing was, he goes, well, you're not dealing with the intelligence itself. You're dealing with like an intermediary, basically like a drone of some sort. You're not dealing with the actual intelligence or the phenomenon itself. So he said, yeah, that some of these things have come down and that some of these things have gone into the possession of the U.S. government, which is crazy. Because so I think that's why there's really not much else going on right now, because it's all the attention's on this subject, and it's going to be interesting to see how some of the associated phenomena like Bigfoot, Dogman, orbs, as opposed to like things in the like UAPs, how those kind of get a little bit more exposure over the next couple of years. I mean, Dogman as it is has gotten a lot of exposure, because of the Skinwalker, the Pentagon book, talking about that guy Axelrod. And I was looking it up because the guy that they use the name of Axelrod has actually come out. He's pretty high up with military intelligence, but his identity, he's come forward actually. And he was the guy who had, after an encounter at Skinwalker Ranch, had dogmen showing up in the backyard of his like suburban DC home.
Mm-hmm.
So
Rustlin Shackelford says, I noticed a huge portion of people who experience these things, maybe all of them, are from military families. So that kind of ties in with that as well, because in the Skinwalker's book, his entire family started experiencing that hitchhiker effect from him being at Skinwalker Ranch. What I was thinking about the whole Gary Nolan thing is he wouldn't come out and be so direct, because like you and I mentioned this before, you and I make fun of him for being so like the king of answers, and for him to just be so direct with it. Something has broken loose. Yeah. Something is coming. Something has been confirmed.
I think we've gone outside the realm of conjecture at this point.
Yeah.
But it's now to the point where somebody is coming forward going, this is who I am. These are my credentials. You can check it all. You can verify everything. This is a program that I've worked on.
Yeah.
And like he said and what's crazy is he said that we haven't had the best and brightest looking into this.
Yes. Yeah, he said he wanted to professionalize it, and he really wanted to reduce the stigma attached to the study of UAPs or the study of extraterrestrials, and that he wanted to bring in people from the outside that could put a fresh perspective on it. Some of the best are not working for our U.S. government, believe it or not. Is that okay to say?
Yeah. Okay.
So some of our best and brightest are not working within the government. They're working in private enterprise, but they generally don't want to risk their lives and their careers to look into the subject. So if there's a destigmatization of this, maybe those people can kind of come out and, lend their expertise to the subject, and maybe we'll get a little further with it.
Yeah. Well, he said also too, that a lot of the best and brightest couldn't get security clearances because of their extracurricular activities as well.
True.
So
that's true.
And, but anyway, he had mentioned that it looked like things were shaking loose and that more and more people were getting involved in the actual search for it. Mm-hmm. And I think that what I think is probably going to happen is that as you get these people now looking at topics that previously they just kind of, poo-pooed off, that's nonsense. That's crazy talk. As they start to get involved in it and realize it's real, what secondary effects are we going to have? Are they going to all of a sudden come across things going, why do I keep getting these reports from these people that we know are credible as far as like UAPs and UFOs go, but they're reporting these upright wolves.
Yeah.
Well, let's look into that. I mean, you start seeing it. Anecdotal reports are one thing, but if you start getting similar anecdotal reports just time and time again, and they follow a pattern, well, then obviously there's something there.
Oh, for sure.
And again, I think
this is great. I think that, and we're not even a week out from this right now. So I'm just curious to like, where is this going? Like, what is going to happen? I think with that legislation that changes everything, and that people are going to be able to come forward now and talk about this stuff, and they're not going to have, fear of, something happening to them. So I think that's pretty
Our buddy MK Ultra Hiking and Gear Review says something big is coming. A lot of strange decisions being made by major corporations around the world. If you could expound upon that in the chat, I would like to hear what you have on that.
Mothman 46, this is kind of off the subject. I forgot to do this in the opener where I was talking about what's going on and what we've been up to and everything like that. Mothman 46 asked, are you going to be speaking at Monster Fest? I am not speaking at Monster Fest. We are not speaking at Monster Fest. We are one of the sponsors of Monster Fest this year. So we will definitely be there. We have a table there. We will be joined by Dewey Edwards and the man himself, Martin Groves, at our table. We're going to be located between the speaker hall and the vendors hall because we are sponsors of the event. We are just going to be hanging out there. It's going to be a blast. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to be hanging out at our table. I think Martin and Dewey are both going to have books. Joe and I are going to be there. We'll probably have a bunch of equipment with us, correct?
We're just going to set up equipment. It's crazy because we got like the primo table at the whole place. We have like the best spot in the entire hall.
Yes.
And we're not doing a damn thing with it. We're not selling anything. We're not really selling stuff.
So it's going to be the Hellbent hangout over at our table.
We even joked about bringing a couch in, try to turn into a little lounge. I mean, Dewey and Martin will have books.
Yeah.
Available because they're both prolific and amazing authors. But we're just going to have like some of our research equipment set up for people to see. And we're just going to kind of hang out and support the whole Monster Fest thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we might have some t-shirts with us or something like that. But
stickers.
I don't even know if we have what we have right now. So,
we'll have to do an inventory and bring what we have.
We're not really good merchants as far as this stuff goes, man.
No,
so we're good in the woods, but not so much with running a t-shirt shop.
However, we will be there. We'll be at our table all day. And if you guys are in the area or if you're coming to Monster Fest, please come by and say hello to us. I want to see as many Hellbenders as possible. So if you guys don't know, Monster Fest is put on by Small Town Monsters. It's their first ever Monster Fest. It's in Canton, Ohio on June 3rd. That's a Saturday. And it's going to be all day at the Doubletree downtown in Canton, Ohio. So it's my first time ever going to Ohio. Never been to Ohio, especially not been to Canton. So I'm looking forward to that. And if you have any suggestions on really good places to eat, I am definitely open because every time we go and do events or we go travel anywhere, we like to find like the best places to eat. I think we're really excited we're definitely doing CryptidCon this year because we're going to go back to Joe Baloney's. If you guys show up to that, make sure you come by the table and say hello to us. We would really, really appreciate seeing you guys. All right.
So we're talking about UAPs, and one of the things I've been kind of toying around with that we've talked about a little bit, but we haven't really been able to sit down and brainstorm is the parallels between the weird crap in the sky and the weird crap on the ground. And I think that what we're kind of working on at least a little bit is kind of formalizing that delineation. You've got to me, UAPs are any sort of like weird phenomenon in the sky, 100, 200 feet above ground level. You know what I'm saying? So, and you've got those 5 characteristics for them. You've got like instantaneous acceleration from like a dead stop to going sometimes tens of thousands of miles an hour. You have at that speed, they leave no signature. They have no sonic boom. They don't leave anything in their wake. They don't seem to disturb the air around them. Low observability, where they are not really picked up on a lot of sensors, or maybe they're picked up on sensors not by the naked eye, or vice versa. Basic anti-gravity, it's called like positive lift, where they're basically hovering in air and they can't figure out why. And then the transmedium effect, where they're able to go through the air and then through the water at speeds which would destroy a normal like physical craft. And I'm thinking, do we need some sort of like observable as far as the stuff on the ground? You know what I'm saying? So things that are moving too fast for what you would expect from normal biological creatures of that size. Things which maybe exhibit physical characteristics that you don't see with normal wildlife. Bioluminescence, the ability to disappear, for lack of a better term, the cloaking effect, anything like that. So I'm just kind of toying around about that, about maybe we want to look at a similar classification for like the weird crap on the ground that we deal with, you know? So if nothing else, it sounds cool, you know, and
it's like that, the phrase that is outdoor, what was it?
What?
Outdoor paranormal? No, what was it? Never mind.
Okay.
Ignore that. Just ignore me. Let's go through here. Paul Kokorotis. Is that right? Kokorotis?
Yes.
Kokorotis.
I assume, yes.
There you go. Paul K. What's up, brother?
Paul K.
There's a theory that Aleister Crowley opened up a portal to prehistoric times at Loch Ness and conjured up the monster. I don't think I've ever heard that. Have you ever heard that theory that he opened up a portal to prehistoric times and conjured up?
Yeah, people talk about that. The sightings predate Aleister Crowley, but that is something that's bandied about.
Because he did have a home in Scotland there, like near.
Right on the shores, I think. So.
Now he did make contact with the entity that is referred to as Lamb, and the description of Lamb is basically the exact dead ringer for what would be considered an extraterrestrial, or the entity that is pictured on Whitley Strieber's book. You know,
I'm looking at, usually we say some controversial things and the chat gets divided.
Yeah.
They're divided about Ohio right now, man.
Oh, okay.
I'm from Ohio originally. You're not missing out there. I love Ohio. So
okay.
Ohio exhibit, I guess it brings about strange, very strong feelings in certain people. So,
somebody's asking if we've watched Skinwalker Ranch, the latest.
No, we
season.
haven't. We haven't really had a chance to watch TV at all. We watched a little bit of True Detective when we ran out of steam the other night because we're still trying to get settled in here. But and we just needed a break. We just needed something to just not. Sometimes if we do watch, we watch that Gary Nolan interview, and then all of a sudden, we're discussing it for 2 hours later.
Yeah.
So we needed something that wouldn't necessarily fire our imaginations up to talk about it, but to just kind of zone out and go to sleep. So we haven't really seen anything. Although I heard that this last season is where they've kicked it into overdrive, and now all of a sudden it seems like a serious investigation as opposed to just reality TV. What is that, Oak Island? That it's no longer the UFO Oak Island. That it's now actually that they're doing cool stuff with drone swarms and everything.
I think we talked about this last week, but when you have a television show like that, even if your goal is to do serious research, you're not going to hook a lot of people with that serious research angle. You kind of have to start out from a television, entertainment angle, and then kind of slowly bring them in, and then kind of pivot over to what you really saw as the vision for the project. So I think that might be what they're doing. Is now they're on season 4. So it's taken to season 4. I know that in season 3 they were kind of starting to go into that, but
E-Rev had asked, what if the UAP are a distraction from the actual craft? It's shooting a laser pointer around laughing. One of the theories I heard was that when you see the UAP, the light or whatever, it's not the entire craft you're seeing, that it's in and out of our dimension. And maybe all you're seeing is part of it, maybe the drive element of it that's allowing it to move. So I don't know. I think when you get into this territory, anything's possible, I think, at that point. So not today, Saban in here waxing philosophical every week. So
E-Rip says we should buy some cases of beer and sell them at Monster Fest. Oh, goodness. All right, let's move on. We're just looking through the chat right now. Sorry, we got a little dead error. What is this? You got anything, homie?
I'm just caught up. All right, you know what? Something that I wanted to bring up, and this is, it sounds crazy at the beginning, but bear with me. So I can't believe I'm going to use these words. There was a guy on 4chan Okay. Don't immediately stop. All right. Don't discount everything.
And yet you come at me for the jokes I make.
Yeah, but this guy on 4chan claiming that he was a government insider dying of liver cancer. And he was like, I'll answer some questions. This was before the Gary Nolan interview that we saw. And he was basically, to just summarize what he said, is that there is a large object basically around where it operates in a greater range, but it will occasionally be in where you consider the Devil's Triangle to be, the Bermuda Triangle, sorry, where the Bermuda Triangle is. It's a large object. They believe it's controlled by some sort of alien AI, and that is where the UAPs and UFOs are coming from, because it's basically a combination submersible carrier / factory that it builds these things at need. And that's why you see some variation in the shape of them, because the shape will be dictated by the purpose that it's made for, and that the government's aware of it, and that they, every time they try to get near to it with, if they try to get near to it, it'll just move it away. If they try to box it in, it becomes defensive and basically has the ability to defend itself instantaneously. He was saying some extremely interesting stuff about how what we're seeing are usually not manned, aliened craft, that it's usually AI guiding these things, and that it's not perfect, that it's extremely advanced, but there are certain things that happen, certain atmospheric conditions, certain things that happen that sometimes make them more likely to crash. He said, or sometimes it seems like the AI just loses interest in it and it just goes down, and it doesn't care whether we recover it or not at this point. But Gary Nolan had said something similar, that he thought that what we were experiencing was not craft with crews, that these were like basically controlled by AI, like von Neumann probes, basically. Just, intelligent machines that had been here for whatever reason throughout our history. I just thought it was interesting. So it's a huge thread. I'm not through reading it yet, but it was pretty interesting that this guy was basically saying the same thing that was kind of mirrored by what Gary Nolan said before Gary Nolan said it. So 4chan, take it with a grain of salt.
God, they are very divided on Ohio, aren't they?
On Ohio? Hey, who would have known? Who would have known, man? Who would have known?
Down where we live, we have a lot of Ohioans. A lot of Ohioans.
Paul M. asks, is the Dino Beaver still at Skinwalker Ranch? Apparently that was like a one and done thing. I think that the physical stuff on the ground chapter at Skinwalker has closed. And it seems like what they're dealing with now is like anomalous phenomenon that is like electrical drains, radiation bursts, and then stuff in the sky. I don't think, have they experienced? Maybe somebody
if somebody's more familiar with that, but you would think that would be like a big thing if they're like,
Yeah.
oh, I saw a dino beaver. It's weird though that you have so many people who have experienced physical phenomenon on the ground, and a lot of these people have not at all. They're just seeing kind of more of the lighter phenomenon. So it's not like it's ramping up in a way. It seems like it's more, I don't want to say passive, but when you have something like electrical drains or something like that, that's not quite as intense as seeing a dino beaver walking across, or the large canid that they saw years and years ago that they actually shot several times, and it didn't seem to even affect the animal.
Rick says that with 4 seasons in, only one creature has been seen. So there has been something seen on Skinwalker Ranch, at least as it relates to the TV show. And then more importantly, Sandra's explanation says, I think she's talking about Ohio.
Explorations.
Get to see a couple of barges up there. So there you go.
Oh, see, that's what I'm going for. I'm going for the barge viewing. Clayton Blackwell says there's a cloaked ship over Skinwalker Ranch, like stationary.
I don't know. I mean, there's some sort of anomaly that I saw. Somebody referenced, I think, and I saw like a brief YouTube video where they were trying to send up a drone swarm, and there was some sort of basically linear anomaly that was in the air that was affecting their instrumentation, and they were shooting rockets at it and all sorts of
It's
cool
so interesting when you have like, there's just these concepts that are kind of, they seem like they're in the universal zeitgeist about everything. Because right now, during you're talking about like the war with between Ukraine and Russia, everybody's kind of discussing right now the use of drone swarms as a weapon. And now you're going into this, you're discussing the UAP phenomenon, and now you're using drone swarms as that. It seems like it's going neck and neck with kind of current warfare as well.
Bloxville, Tennessee says, could you imagine seeing a dino beaver or two upright canines smoking cigarettes in trench coats and top hats? Because that was actually reported by, and I can't remember who reported it, but it was somebody with the NIDS team. It might even been one of the main guys. I don't know. Travis Taylor, the lead guy with this whole investigation, or at least lead public guy, had a great thing that he said that sometimes maybe we're seeing things that are so outside of our reality that our brain just short circuits and doesn't know how to basically translate it to our brains. You know, our eyes are seeing it, our brains can't translate it. So it brings up kind of an approximation of what it thinks it's looking like. Okay. Because it's so far outside our realm of just our frame of reference that's all it can do. And he was like, so they probably didn't see two werewolves smoking cigarettes and trench coats and hats. What they saw was probably so alien. That's what the brain translated it to be at this point.
Jeez. There's stories of people they'll see something's directly in front of them and they don't see it at all because the brain can't process it because of the shock, I guess, that there's no frame of reference and you just simply cannot process it because it's just too much for the brain to process at that point.
Well, one of the things I was looking at is there's I believe he's Italian, Bernardo Castro. He's a computer guy and then an overall philosopher. Okay. Mm-hmm. So he's a real right brain, left brain, real creative and real logical guy. He's one probably in 100 million type of thinker. And he used to be a complete realist. There's no such thing as UFOs. What you see is you die, you go on the ground, it's done. Physical consciousness is just a result of biology, basically. Well, he's done a 180 in recent years, and you're hearing a lot of extremely in the know people in the UAP field start to talk about him. And his thing is that what we deal with as reality isn't really reality. It's basically we're driving a car and we're not looking out the window. We're looking at the dashboard, at the instrument panel. Mm-hmm. That everything we experience is a byproduct of the instrumentation. It's an icon, basically, that our brain interprets at that point. So that a
proxy.
Yeah, exactly. And so that your brain basically is a filter as opposed to where consciousness comes from. And it was extremely interesting. They talk about people that experiment with DMT and ayahuasca and stuff like that, that your brain activity technically slows down. It slows down extremely, just to a fraction of what it normally is. But yet you have these conscious awakenings, you know what I'm saying? These spiritual
awakenings. And you have very complex visions when you do DMT. Yeah,
and his theory is that our conscious mind is actually a filter. So that what we're experiencing as reality is the diluted version of it because we can't handle the truth. Can't handle the truth, Jesse. You can't handle it. So that went into my thing about well, maybe that explains some of the cloaking of some of these things that people see on the ground. Maybe they have the ability to kind of go into the range that we can see and then they get out. They're still there. We just can't, with our control panel, our instrument panel, we can't detect them anymore.
Yeah.
And you're driving a car and you only know what the instrument panel tells you. If your tire's low, if you got you're low on oil, if your engine starts to run too hot, the things that are critical for you to get from point A to point B, it's going to tell you. Basically, for us, the things that we need to be aware of to keep ourselves alive. Okay. If somebody shoots the side of your car with paintballs, the instrument panel is not going to tell you that at all.
Right.
You don't know. It still happened. It's still there, and it happened to the vehicle that you're in. It's not important for the instrumentation to tell you that for the purpose of getting from point A to point B. So it's something that, and that's what's weird is you're starting to get some, instead of just people telling stories about, getting abducted in the cornfield, and then just real kind of sci-fi type stuff. You're starting to get some people looking at this that are incredible thinkers and they're going, there's something here.
Right.
So when you're thinking in those terms, all of a sudden stuff that seems to be physically impossible. And that's one of the things that usually, the skeptics, the people that are trying to again, just kind of just shun this away or make fun of any of these topics, they always just go, well, that's impossible. I think that our understanding of what impossibility is just, it's not, impossible ain't what it used to be.
Yeah,
basically,
it's starting to go by the wayside.
Yeah.
I'm curious to how folks who are basically like the professional debunkers who have been doing this for years and years and years.
They're still going. They have no shame, man. They have no shame. They have no
How
shame.
are they going to react when you have
Yeah.
what most people would consider the experts or, legitimate scientists getting involved in the subject and actually contributing in a way that they can in a really positive way and really starting to move the needle on the subject and maybe make some discoveries or maybe
I remember we talk about it all the time when that guy
some disclosures.
When that guy was trying to correct Commander Fravor, who saw the Tic Tac, correct him on Twitter and tell him that he just saw a kid's party balloon. And I'm just going, come on, man. At this point, just log off. Just log off at that point.
Just call it a day.
You're talking to somebody who, at that point, maybe you can go, I don't know what it is, but I know that if anybody could say they saw it, it's this guy.
Yeah.
So, but at the same token, there's no shame, man. They'll just keep going. It's to the point now where a lot of the debunking reaches a level of like absurdity, and they just keep rolling with it.
That's the mental gymnastics thing that everybody has to do. And sometimes you go through these really convoluted ways of explaining things that the simpler answer is it's just a freaking alien.
Yeah, exactly. We're missing some comedy gold here in the chat. Now we're waxing. So now I'm waxing too much. So
Jay Myers, I want to answer this here. Jay Myers says, how long has it been since y'all been to LBL? So the last time we went to LBL was the end of February, beginning of March?
Yeah, we were down there. We haven't even really gone through a lot of the footage yet. So
yeah, we have
criminally behind at that point. So
as a lot of you guys know, we bought a house and moved. So I got my computer set up and everything. So there's hours and hours and hours of footage from that expedition because we were up there for I think 6 days. And I have footage of us going out with Barton Nunnally, us going out with Martin Groves and Dewey Edwards. We have footage from that. And then we actually investigated the spot where Martin had his encounter. So we actually have footage from that.
Yeah, we've been on site to where Martin Groves had his encounter and looked around. We were there a couple of nights. We were there one evening as the sunset solo, and then we went back the following evening or 2 evenings later. And it was like a full force thing. It was you and me and Barton and Letitia Nunnally, Martin Groves, Dewey and D. Edwards. Everybody was there, the whole crowd. So, and of course, that's when we got rained out.
You guys actually set up another scent experiment. You and Barton Nunnally set up a scent experiment
and got rained out.
We have footage of that and everything like that. But yeah, it was a really interesting trip because that was that trip that kind of got crazy because all of a sudden we had like a huge like Fed presence there. And there was that controversy where we think that somebody dropped a dime on us for being up there. So that was in February, beginning of March. That was the last time we were there. And we won't be going back to the LBL until probably late fall.
And we won't tell anybody when we're going.
Or in the winter. But
we won't do any more live streams from there.
Yeah, so because somebody dropped a dime on us and tried to get us arrested.
Dogman YouTube stuff serious business.
Dogman YouTube. So when we go back, we're really not going to tell anybody else. Not going to tell anybody that we're there until we're back. So thanks.
Ryan Holloway, have y'all heard anything or know anything about Mount Wilson Ranch? Wasn't there a Ghost Adventures episode of Mount Wilson Ranch?
It sounds familiar.
Ghost Adventures, Mount Wilson Ranch. Yep, I was pulling it up. I don't know. Was that where the dude
with the samurai sword?
The samurai sword? I thought that was.
I hope so.
Hold on one second.
That he fought the alien with a samurai sword?
He was killing them left and right. He said he killed several of them. No. That's an actual. I think that's like Stardust Ranch.
Okay. So this is a ghost town.
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. I was excited about the guy with the samurai sword fighting aliens in the living room. So Amen. Just another letdown.
Jay Myers, some fishermen seen something big on the shores of Kentucky Lake 3 weeks ago. Huh.
I would like to ask, let's see, if War Criminal has any information on that, Or if Take Two Wheels has any info on that, I would appreciate you guys getting back to me and letting me know if you guys have any info on that.
Our friend Black from Black Mass Paranormal stopped by.
Hey,
he
what's up,
reached
man?
out to us this past week. We might have some cool stuff in the works.
That would be cool.
Charles Lindsay was talking about Daniel Boone National Forest. Yeah, we've heard some stuff from Daniel Boone National Forest. Yeah, we've talked to some people about possibly going down there this year and checking it out at that point. So one of the things that's got me worried about the LBL is that activity seems to be increasing, but so does the official presence there.
Yeah, there seems to be a huge presence of three-letter agencies, and we're not really interested in dealing with that.
Yeah.
So I think we might have to
let it cool off.
We might have to take a step back from the LBL. I do have all of my footage from that trip that we did in late February, early March that I will be putting out. But I think that we're going to have to take a step back from the LBL for a while after that big incident with us being up there and then the fence coming down. So we're going to avoid that for a bit. Speaking of the LBL massacre, what are you doing? He's ordering Groucho Marx disguises.
Ordering Groucho Marx disguises.
So now we're going to put on Groucho Marx disguises to go to the LBL. Speaking of the LBL, I want to give a shout out to Steve Causey. He is often in our chats. I don't know if he's in the chat right now, but he just put out a book called The LBL Massacre. It's Steve Causey. He actually included some of our evidence in this book, and it gives you a history of the LBL and tells about the story that allegedly happened in 1982 when that family was supposedly murdered. So if you get a chance, pick that up. It's The LBL Massacre by Steve Causey. Give that a read, guys, for our friend Steve.
Put up a link in the chat.
You got it? Cool.
Yeah, I got it.
Link in the chat there for you. And Joe's still looking at Groucho Marx disguises. What's up, Central Florida Bigfoot? Let's see, y'all. All right, where are we at here? You got anything, Mr. Doa? God, there's a lot of stuff here. I'm still trying to catch up here.
Encrypted connections. Oh, we got like a VIP, man. We got a who's who, veritable who's who.
Yes.
In the chat tonight.
It's been weird. There's been a lot of people that we've been doing YouTube. We've been doing YouTube for what, 3-4 years?
Yeah, but like taking it seriously for like
2.
Probably less than 2.
2. Still. Yeah. It's weird.
And the fact that I'm shopping Groucho Marx glasses while we're doing this
probably
means we're not taking it super seriously.
What's going on? But we've been doing this for a couple of years. We don't claim to be experts or the best at this or even particularly talented at what we're doing. But we enjoy doing it. It's what we're pretty decent at it. We love doing it. We love that we've met all of you people through this. It seems like that there is such a saturation of the cryptid paranormal YouTube arena. We're really thankful that you guys choose to spend your time watching our channel. But I do want to say that Encrypted Connections is fairly new, but he is definitely worth the watch. His shows are just great. He's so inquisitive. He's not afraid to ask questions, and he's not afraid to actually go into it and kind of do the hard stuff sometimes. So I do want to suggest if you have time to watch his channel, that's a really good watch. I do suggest you watch Kyle's channel.
Today's I'm trying to make my forehead explode. But
that.
I'm familiar with that. And I other than a passing familiarity with it, I don't know if they ever explained how that's possible or if you got an answer. He is the science branch of Hellbent Holler, basically. So quartz grinders in here.
Where are you at?
I'm pulling this up. Just curious. It posted something about 8 out of 10 people around me believe that the fact checker is without question. I don't even believe that statistic. All right. But anyway, it doesn't make sense.
Are you fact checking the fact checkers?
I'm fact checking the fact checkers. But one of the things that we keep circling back to this Gary Nolan interview, but one of the things he said that again, this is about as insider as you can get. And somebody went, all right, how do you know this? And he goes, well, all right, I can't talk about some of the stuff I know, but for just the average person on the street, he goes, look how Congress is reacting to this. we know that Project Blue Book was a disinformation campaign, right? I'm going to go out and I'm going to tell everybody that the UFO that they saw land in this outside this small West Virginia coal mine town was actually swamp grass.
God, if I have to hear about swamp
gas,
swamp that we can't even say it. Swamp gas.
Swamp gas.
Weather balloon.
So they were making a concerted effort to put information out there.
Mhm.
Okay. Now they're making a concerted effort to gather information, it seems like. And he said that there were a lot of strange bedfellows like kind of going on right now. People from across the aisle who, if you look at the newspapers, don't have a nice thing to say about each other, are working very closely together to try to get some of this information out. But he mentioned that they were trying to overcome a very complex misinformation campaign since basically the 1940s, that the government, private industry, and everything like that had been involved with to try to steer public opinion, and that it had been so successful. That's part of the reason why people are so resistant to this right now. So many people are hardwired to just go. Somebody comes up and if somebody hears one of the stories that you and I hear on almost a daily basis from people, their instant response is not to think about it and to ask questions and to judge the case.
Instantly go, that's true.
Crazy. That's crazy, because they have just been, it's a Pavlovian response that they have. So it's so much to the point that you can't really discuss this with a lot of people because you can't break that barrier.
Yeah, you can't get through the first step to getting them to even entertain the thought that this is a possibility. And
I think that for some people, that barrier is so strong that even a personal experience won't break that barrier down, because it's so ingrained to them that only crazy people think that and talk about that. And I don't want people to think I'm crazy. So if they see something, they either bury it or they explain it away. That, again, those absurd kind of like explanations. But some people, it's so ingrained in that they'll never. I mean, you could drag a damn cage in with a tethered dog man in it, let them poke them with a stick. Here, we're going to cut the damn thing open right in front of you and take a look at it. And they would still explain it away as a hoax or something.
Yeah. Paul M follows up to that with, I've been to a few Bigfoot conferences. Sadly, if anything, they will turn you into a non-believer, if anything at all. Some of the supposed experts really should think before stating some views as facts. I don't want you to get disenfranchised when it comes to doing this or looking.
Because it's easy.
It's easy. It's easy to get. I think we were discussing this again today. We were like, sometimes do you feel like with all this and all the muddying of the waters and the static, there's just so much static going on and the oversaturation and just this bad information that's easily just debunked in a real way, not just no, that's not true, debunking for debunking's sake. It's just, this stuff is just completely just ridiculous that you can't, it doesn't make any sense on a normal level, and you just get kind of beaten down by it sometimes.
Well, I think it's that stating views as fact is the thing that we struggle with, because again, I hear stuff all the time that I don't know, it might be true or it might not be true. It sounds crazy. But I think if somebody doesn't go, listen, this happened to me, and I know it sounds crazy.
Yeah.
But this happened to me. I believe that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we have people tell us, just go, listen, this happened to me and I don't understand what happened, but this is what happened to me. This is what I experienced. I'll believe that person. But these people, like you said, that just present it as fact, but I always go, show your work. If you're going to tell me something's fact, show me how you arrived at that conclusion. If you're going to tell me that you experienced a mystery and you don't understand what happened to you and all you can relay is your experience, I'll believe that.
Yeah, you're more inclined to listen to something because it's more open-ended. Yes.
And I get more so every day. You know what I'm saying? The more stuff we experience ourselves, I'm more likely to believe what sounds on face a crazy story. But the moment somebody starts trying to make me conform to how they view it and they can't tell me how they arrived at that conclusion, because again, if you look at the stuff we talk about, we saw something in the LBL on thermal that was alive, and it resembled very closely, that thermal image, to what witnesses have seen and reported as like the beast of LBL.
Yeah.
And that's all we can say.
But you can't say for a fact, hey,
I can't say for
I
a
can't
fact
say
what
for a
that
fact.
is. You know what I'm saying?
This
So,
is the beast of LBL. This is a dog man. This
well, I think we saw what people are reporting as the beast of LBL. But
Yeah.
what that is, I don't know.
Yeah.
We saw that weird light, which we sometimes refer to as a strange light. We sometimes refer to it as a portal. We don't know what it is. And that's, again, because we don't know what it is, but we saw it. We captured it on instrumentation. We were able to look at the footage later and go, that's what we saw, but we don't know what it is. It's just, I think part of it that we have to contend with in this field is the fact that there's a lot of self-aggrandizing that goes on. It doesn't become about the pursuit. It becomes about the attention that you receive in the course of the pursuit. You know what I'm saying? And don't get me wrong, I enjoy the hell out of Monday nights, man. I enjoy getting on here with people and talking,
sure.
and the people that we've been blessed to meet and communicate with and correspond with. It's awesome. There is a definite upside to that you'd be foolish not to admit to. We've met people and we've learned from people that we normally would not have met or learned from.
I've received Vienna sausages as a gift.
Yes, indeed. So
from my guests.
We got a care package from one of our people that is in here that we were using today.
Yes,
you know
we did, actually.
We got the most awesome care package.
Yeah.
That we anyway. We digress, but it's. I think a lot of people just get they find a sense of they get some attention in this field that maybe they don't get in their personal lives, you know, and all of a sudden it becomes upon that. And now it's more important to be seen about the expert as being the expert than to just be going, none of us know what the hell's going on.
Right.
And
kind of a follow-up to this. There's been a big, EREV says, there's been a big boom in the Dogman cryptid department on YouTube. Doesn't seem to be a good thing. It can be a good thing because now you have more people exposed to this. More people are interested in this. There's more eyeballs on it. There's more people looking into it. That's a great thing. And if it's more normalized, people who have had these experiences can actually come out and don't feel so crazy. And they're willing to share their experiences and talk about what they've experienced and what they've seen and what they've been through, because they know that there's other people out there. That's definitely the positive side of it. I think there's a possibility there that some of these people could be disinformation agents, similar to. Okay. So they could be disinformation agents, similar to what happened during the 1950s, the 1960s. The government actually sent people into UFO groups to kind of steer them in different directions.
And to find out who was talking about what.
Yeah.
And to kind
see
of
what they knew, what they were talking about.
And then as soon as they learned about it, they would try to ridicule it, you know, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ezekiel's wheel is an example of the brain not having a frame of mind. Yep. So, but yeah, I think your point about the growing thing on the Dogman, it spreads it, but at the same token, you have to make sure that you don't get the general public, somebody with just a passing interest the more sensational stuff's going to define the phenomenon for them, as opposed to like real life encounters, which may or may not be as sensational as some of the stories are. So. All right, let's see. Dun, dun, dun.
Did you see what Sean Blevins said?
No, what's that?
He's
Go ahead and hit it.
Wow, seriously, drop the bomb and tell us who dimed y'all out so we can give them a night of horror that will cause them to be institutionalized for the rest of their lives. I'm not going to do that because I'm pretty sure they've been institutionalized for most of their lives. As it's been, I think they're recently released. And so let's be kind to our neighbors.
Encrypted asked a question. It's a few minutes back. I don't even know if you're still on here. Do you guys think that there's a reason that the other stuff is so attractive to you? At first, I don't think it was attracted to us per se. I think it was the fact that we were going into these areas specifically to look for it, and that we were. And again, we haven't really been doing it much over the past like 6 weeks, but we're out there constantly out in the middle of the woods at night. We're not in around a KOA. We're not down a hiking trail. We pick an old gravel road. We go down it. We find a place to pull the car off to the side, and then we kind of go into the woods and scout around. And sometimes we just don't feel it. We move on. And then other times we're like, let's post up here tonight. And then sometimes things happen. Sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
People would constantly be like, you guys need to release a field investigation video every week. And we're going, stuff doesn't happen to us every week, unfortunately. So we would have dry spells of it.
You get to see like hours of us sitting around giving each other protein. You want a protein bar?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but there's definitely something to be said about that whole, the longer you look into the abyss starts to look into you.
Yeah.
If you'd asked me that a year ago, I would not have said this. When the weird stuff kind of followed us home at our old place, and then it seemed like
Oh yeah.
we would go out and we would post up, and we would go out, and you haven't seen this footage because there's really nothing to see for most of it. We would go out and set up. I'm talking like every instrument we had. We'd set up stationary. We've got parabolic microphones and sensors going off and everything like that. Let's see what happens. Nothing would happen. And then we would pack our car up because, finally, we've been out there for 12 hours. Nothing's really going on. We're not going to spend the night. Pack up, get ready to leave. Weird stuff would happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you're going, it's messing with us. It's playing games with us. So I think that there's something to be said about the fact that the contagion element of like this, the hitchhiker effect,
the paranormal virus.
The paranormal virus is a thing, and it can exposure can cause infection, and infection can sometimes spread. There's something to that, whether you are dealing with UFOs, hauntings, the physical stuff out in the woods, the weird lights. There's something to it. So I don't think that we're special. Although I've said this before, I can go out by myself and nothing happens. I take Jesse out. That's when the stuff happens. So I'm not special, but I'm there. I'm present. You know what I'm saying? You're missing all of the shots you don't take. We're taking a lot of shots. We're out there like a lot. So we're exposing ourselves to it, and then we're taking equipment to try to document it.
In order to get the footage or the data that we get, you have to be out there, have the equipment to get that data and those shots, to get that video footage. Like with that portal thing we got on camera, like there's 1,000 stories about seeing portals and stuff.
We happen to
have a full spectrum
and a thermal
camera and a thermal ready to go.
And we didn't have the psionics, which would have been the ideal piece of equipment for that. But at least we had enough to document it. And it was more than just another campfire story.
Yeah.
Central Florida Bigfoot. Did you recently hit a milestone with subs? Central Florida Bigfoot was just in a documentary. He's all over the place. He's hitting the big time, man. It's not gonna have time for us small little people like this. And then Lance Landmark asked for nightfall time.
Oh, well, okay. I also, by the way, let's see. I have a special shirt on today. I'm wearing my Microtech shirt. Got my Microtech shirt on, so we both have Microtechs today. I have a special edition here. There we go. It's the source artwork on mine, so it's kind of a black and white mandala on mine, but mine is a Microtech Hera. So it was like a limited edition Microtech they did. So that's the nightfall time.
So there you go.
There you go. Let's see. Paul M. He says, your channel is the only one that hasn't jumped on the creepypasta bandwagon so far. Yep. So far. You try to look at all angles and aren't afraid to say when something is or could be a natural occurrence. I am sometimes when crazy stuff happens, like the portal thing, okay? Even if I get footage of it, and I get footage from a thermal, I get footage from a full spectrum camera, we're there, we film all of this, we have all this stuff, we got readings the next day. That was so freaking crazy. That was such a crazy occurrence. That was something so wild and so out the frame that I almost didn't want to share that footage with, because it seems crazy.
Well, that's why we went out back the next day
to try get those readings
and try to make sure that it wasn't anything going on with that, because we knew that because it was pretty extreme that people were going to go, they faked it. They did this, they did that. But I agree with you on that. It's just, we had some conversation about how do we want to release this. We want to do it justice, because to us, it was amazing. It was a pretty pivotal point in our lives.
It was amazing. So, yes. And I think we had physical effects afterwards. I think we actually had physical effects from that encounter afterwards. And so it was obviously a big deal. It was a big thing. And I mean, Joe gets on to me all the time about getting, like, I'm like, we've got to get this on film. I'm obsessed with getting all of this on film. I'm obsessed with filming all of this now and getting the footage, because nobody is going to believe just another campfire story.
Yeah.
There's too many of those out there. So I think it's very important that you get this stuff on film. But God, some of it is just so crazy.
Yeah, well, I mean, anecdotal accounts are another data point.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say this right now, that just because something sounds like creepypasta, I don't discount it. I just don't swallow it hook, line, and sinker. To me, it's another data point to take.
What if the park ranger spills the BBB?
Park ranger, yeah, I love those videos that are coming out now, man, with the CGI, with the AI generated park ranger with a very distressed look on his face.
Yeah.
The dog man over his shoulder, park ranger spills beans. And what's funny is then Barton Nunley had a legit park
ranger,
like a person who
park
worked
employee,
for it was spilling it, and I'm going, that's what. There it is. There's somebody in the know spilling the beans.
There's some real beans here.
Real
this is legit beanage.
But it's just that, I mean, I'll take it as a data point. It's just that I don't. Because we deal with it all the time. People will message us going, "No, you're wrong. It's this, this, and this." And I'm going, "You're speaking from a very, solid point, position of authority on this. How do you know that this is beyond a shadow of a doubt?" So yeah, I mean, you get a lot of these like creepypasta stories and who knows, maybe there's a legit dude out there that has had crazy experiences his whole life, and he's sitting there and he goes, "You know what? I'm going to share this on Reddit. I just want to get it off my chest." Maybe it happened, but at the same token, somebody like that should know that people are not going to find it anything more than just another interesting story without anything to back it up. So there you go. Like our Panthertown stuff. People are always just like, we talk about Panthertown, but we didn't film anything on that. You know what I'm saying?
That's what led us into filming stuff.
But I mean, it led us into spending a giant chunk of our lives and a huge portion of our disposable income and pretty much giving up everything else in our lives to do this because it was that crazy of an experience. But we don't have any footage of it. We don't have any footage of it, anything. We have some still photos of like the room, like the symbols that we found and stuff like that. But, that's an anecdote that had some concrete effects to us. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
So,
and then it had, I mean, that's an anecdote that had a ripple effect. It had lasting effects that because of that experience, because of what we went through in Panthertown Valley, that is why we are here right now. That's why we're doing this show right now. That's why I produce these videos. That's why we go out there and we do this kind of work and we spend all this time and money doing this, is because of that.
Yeah.
So they definitely have their place in the world.
Central Florida Bigfoot's done with conferences.
Bunch of egos. When I first glanced at that, I thought it said egos, and I was like, well, I would love to go to a waffle
I'm
conference.
going to a waffle conference, man.
Like, let's just start going to waffle conferences.
Is that a thing?
It is
now. Because if that's a thing, we're logging off. Good night, guys. It's been nice knowing you. We're going to start up a waffle channel.
We're giving up cryptids and we're doing waffles.
We're into waffles now. It's all we're into. But you know what? Here's the deal, though. Some of the conferences are cool. I mean, because you go to meet some like-minded people, and it's some of them are neat. But I'm like you. I don't ever want to like speak to somebody and just go, this. I can tell you what we know and what we experience. We have a certain level of expertise in investigation, I think, from some hard like learned lessons.
Yeah.
Seeking out people that know stuff and learning from people, and then just trial and error on our own. So if you got an area with some weird crap going on, I feel that we're just as qualified and as competent as anybody else out there at this point. I would say that. Can I give you a bunch of explanations about what you're dealing with afterwards? Probably not. No. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to tell you it's from Zeta Reticuli and it's there to do whatever, or the Dogman clan, the alpha has died and they're in the midst of a power struggle and the conflict has boiled over onto your property. I'm not going to be able to tell you anything like that, but I'm going to be able to present you what we can capture. And all that.
That sounds like something you've heard
I have heard that before. That's
it's a vacuum of power in the Dogman clan.
Grace W is telling E-Rev that his name is so much easier now.
It is.
It is. We had that conversation before and I was like, good for you. And he was like, I was tired of typing it all out.
Was it Existers Revitalization?
Yeah, I can't even remember what it was.
See, now instead of E-Rev, I'm just going to say Existers Revitalization.
Yeah, now we're going to go back to it. So
we're natural contrarians. I don't know if you know that or not.
I vaguely remember this. Ryan Holler was talking about Mount Wilson, that Bigelow owned it. Oh, and when he bought Skinwalker Ranch, he had all the usual people. I seem to remember hearing about that, and I don't think we hear a lot about a lot of stuff. So I don't think we explored that any at all. So that's pretty cool. So
one of the cooks at work, he's from California, and he had property near Mount Shasta. And one day he goes, there's damn ice caves out there. They eat people. I'm like, what?
Mount Shasta? They probably do, man. Huh? So,
I don't know. I was like, oh, this stretches so far. Anyway, carry on.
Hey, Black Mass had mentioned there's nothing worse when you work your butt off, capture an amazing piece of evidence, than people just dismiss it like nothing. There is a lot about that. There's that bucket of crabs mentality, man, that nobody really advances because I want to advance. I don't want that dude to advance. So I'm going to sabotage that dude so then I can advance. But then I start to advance and somebody else sabotages me. You know what I'm saying?
I'd say, and I've talked about this before, that's a scarcity mentality. And it's really important to don't have a scarcity mentality because as long as you're being honest with what you're doing and you're upfront with what you're doing and you're not a grifter, then you can do this. And even if you don't get super successful doing it, it's very fulfilling doing this because even a bad day, where you don't get any evidence is still a good day in the woods. You still get out in the woods.
The stuff that we've learned on this.
And the stuff we've learned, like the skills that we've acquired through doing this work is a reward within itself. So,
yeah, but Black Mass, what I'm going to tell you though is that you're out there alone on foot doing it just like we are.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times we'll get people that'll just be like that audio we captured in North Georgia around that weird tree that we found with the crystal, the quartz and all that around. It's a bear. It's not a bear, man. I don't know what it is, but it ain't a bear. Okay. One of our old research areas was in the Pisgah Bear Sanctuary. I mean, we would deal with black bears and hear black bears, and it would be nothing for us to be going down a game trail and then go, that's a mama bear with cubs. Let's turn around and go this way.
Yeah.
Okay. So that would happen.
I think that was one of the scariest I've ever
That was
been.
one of the scariest things we ever had. But it's, and I'm just going, so we know what bears, I know what a bear, it's like when we talk about Native American folklore. They were mistaking bears. No, they knew what bears looked like. They dealt with bears far more regularly than some dude on Reddit did. Okay. They know you don't know what a bear is. They know what bears are. But yeah, you'll get people, and I can understand people being skeptical, not swallowing everything hook, line, and sinker. I can understand people that will go, have you thought about this? Is there a possibility it was this? I'll have those conversations all day long. But people just immediately go, it was this. And dude, you don't know that. You're just, again, trying to. Now they're trying to be contrarian with the contrarians. I'm not taking that. I'm not taking that.
Oh gosh. Pig sticker check. We just did
it, but I'll do it again.
Check.
We got microtext.
Here,
this is from my friend that goes by Denim Devil, who will be with us at.
No, he won't.
No, he won't. Damn, that's right.
He won't at all.
He won't at all.
He doesn't exist.
So. Grace W is talking about disinformation agents, and that's something that I am willing. I can't say I'm convinced, but I find it very likely that there is an organized effort, and you would think who would have the intention and the ability to organize such an effort. I guess with AI coming out, one person could do it soon. You know what I'm saying? So, but that there's an organized effort to spread bad information sometimes. It's that feeling I get with it. Some of it is just people trying to get attention for made up stories, Some of the stuff we look at, not to cut you off, is we might think it's misinformation and it's really something that happened. And the poor guy's out there going, why does nobody believe it?
Yeah. Just screaming at the sky.
Yeah.
I was going to say, that's one thing I really like that Dark Waters does, because he will talk about real encounters. But when he talks about something that's kind of a creepypasta and kind of a narrative, he goes, now guys, this is a story. It has a lot of the elements of real stories in it, but this is just a story. This is just a narrative, And
it's like listening to War of the Worlds. He keeps doing those things. He'll do it every so often. No one is talking about, I was completely skeptical on the Dogman stuff. And yet I heard Martin Groves on a podcast. I'm completely trusting in what he said. I mean, there's a reason why, beyond our friendship with Martin Groves, we talk about him all the time.
Yeah.
It's because you're not alone in that assessment of his story. We were talking about it today, the amount of people that have contacted me going, I've heard you all talk about Martin Groves, but I just heard one of his interviews. Oh my God, it's crazy. That happened. That really happened. This has just been like a fun hobby for me, but basically it's like the equivalent of watching Marvel movies. I didn't think any of it was real, but oh my God, it's real. And I'm going, yep, welcome to the party, you know?
Mhm.
We were making jokes about Dogman until our first LBL trip. And then we got that thing on the thermal. And I'm just going, that, like, literally when I talk about this, that it's, whenever we do these multi-day like investigations, we'll get a hotel room somewhere if it's doable to get out, especially if it's the summertime.
Yeah.
Get ticks off of us. We need to clean and recharge the equipment a lot of times.
Yes. We have so much equipment. I know you guys have seen how much equipment we have. We have to have a place to charge.
Yeah.
that.
And then we're able to extend that out nowadays because we've got a lot of charging options.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I'm not lying that when I saw that, I didn't sleep that night. Jesse woke up the next morning and I'm sitting at the foot of the bed doing what? Staring at it on the laptop. And you're like, what the hell is that? Because I didn't even really talk about it the night before that much. And I'm going, that's why I wanted us to leave that area. What do you think this is? And she's like, oh my God. So up until that moment, it was kind of all fun and games for us. People who haven't had that personal experience, Martin Groves is making them aware of the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
So
And it's not rainbows and sunshine in any way.
Well, I think that's why Martin's important, because it's a counterbalance to, again, I talked about how the phenomenon's known by its most sensational aspects. People hear Dogman and they think crazy talk. You know what I'm saying? You know, they think Reddit stories and YouTube stories that are just completely, you know, the park ranger spills the beans and government kill teams, and which may or may not be true, but to a normal person, that's very sensationalized and it's hard to accept.
Yeah.
There's Martin Groves. He's somebody using his real name. You can look him up online. He's open about who he is, what he did, everything like that, just telling you a first person story. And I have yet to hear of anybody that doesn't believe him.
Yeah.
You know, so I think he is actually,
I mean, his sincerity comes through very clearly.
well,
as
he's
well,
bringing
so.
he's bringing the, because sometimes the reality of it is just as sensational as the stuff that we think may be made up, you know.
He's our Commander Fravor.
He is our Commander Fravor. Oh my Lord. Martin Groves is the Commander Fravor of the Dogman world.
Yes.
How have I never made that connection before? Commander
Sorry.
Martin. Commander Martin.
You're in the presence of a big brain.
I have a big brain on Jesse. Jesse got a big brain on it. By the way, could you guys hit the like button?
Yes, hit the like button.
Would it kill you?
Make sure you hit that like button before we deploy the donkeys.
Yeah.
Blocksville Teneke says, you guys have got some pretty awesome stuff on camera. For real. Thank you. Yes, we have.
We've missed a lot of stuff on camera. We've missed a lot of stuff on camera.
Which is heartbreaking in the end. But you know, if we can if we can just get some of it, that's a big deal to us. That is a big deal to us. All right, I'm going through the chat. Obviously, I'm way behind. I'm insanely behind. Oh my God.
I'm more ahead than you are for once.
Yeah,
man.
go for it, kid.
All right, on. So Stingray 1975 is drinking, and then while he's watching it, I think he's doing the drinking, the Hellbent Holler drinking game.
Pisky? He's drinking Pisky?
Drinking Pisky. So
Dogman Pisky. That's fresh. Footage or die.
Footage or die.
I might die getting footage one day, to be honest with you.
Our boy Stephen Taylor is in the chat. Hellbent Holler, I'm doing an investigation at the Bell Witch location in a couple of weeks.
Steven, get in touch with Dewey Edwards.
Are you going to the cave itself or area? I'll reach out to you offline off of it. But if you don't have Dewey's contact information, and I'm sure I can't speak for Dewey. Dewey may be like, don't send that lunatic Stephen Edwards. Stephen Taylor,
I think we're the lunatics. We showed up at Stephen Taylor's house.
Stephen Taylor's the one who we showed up at his house when we were down in LBL last time. He made a comment, and he had commented where he was.
And we were driving down that road at that exact moment.
And he said, and literally, I just went, hey, you know Stephen Taylor's?
We're driving by, and I see him on a porch.
And I go, oh my God, it's him right there. And then we drove down the road and talked about, would it be creepy if we turned around? It'd be creepy, wouldn't it? Let's do it anyway. So we pulled around, and his friend's sitting on the porch, and these two weird people pull up in a car loaded with all these crates of equipment. And we're like, Stephen here?
Is Steven home?
So anyway, yeah, we'll see if we can hook you guys up because Dewey's the man with
That sounds
Bell Witch.
really, really awesome, though. Very, very cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah. Roll that bean footage. I don't even know what that's from. So.
Roll that beautiful bean footage.
Well, I know what that's
Bush's
from.
bean?
I know what it's from. I know it's from the Bush's Baked Beans commercial with the dog. I don't know what it's in reference to.
It's to the park ranger spilling the beans and real beanery. There's real beans
There's
to be spilled.
there's real beans to be spilled,
There's
not just
real
those
beans to
fake
be
beans.
spilled.
So
Really want to go to the Bush's Baked Bean museum and tour. So since we're on the subject of beans right now.
Stingray was having a feud with a YouTube personality, by the way. I wonder if that's still going on. Don't mention it, but I think I told you about that. I wonder if that still happens. Stingray, you still getting up to? You still doing the Lord's work out there, my friend? So.
Oh goodness.
Waffle conferences. Yep.
Yeah, that would be great.
I'm a waffleologist.
Waffleologist. That sounds awesome. We recently, we're hillbillies. We've recently just committed to real maple syrup instead of the Butterworth.
We are freaking hillbillies.
So, and we've been eating the real syrup, and we're like, oh my God, what have we been doing?
Just wasting our lives. is
We
what we're
wasted
doing.
our
Just wasting our
lives.
lives. Sean Blevins has had some crazy stuff happen. We've got so many people that we've gotten to know that have had crazy stuff happen that are just completely.
Hopefully, the paranormal contagion isn't spreading from us to them.
Paranormal contagion.
You know?
There's a book that is in my reading list that I will plug here. Apparently, it is. It's been mentioned by some people that it deals with. Poltergeist, Parallels and Contagion by Darren Ritson.
Yeah.
Which apparently he is talking about it from like a hauntologist's point of view, as they call them, people who ghost hunt. It's a fancy way for saying ghost hunters, but a hauntologist's point of view, about the hitchhiker effect as it relates to hauntings, like haunted homes and hauntings that people experience, and how there's so many parallels between that and the stuff that we've dealt with and the stuff in Skinwalker Ranch and all that.
Yeah.
So that it's that contagion kind of effect at this point.
That's
so,
cool.
Anyway, but
Grace W says, I really enjoyed the Brown Mountain Lights live stream. That was fun. So was the Halloween one and the LBL one. You get the best live evidence ever. So we're still going to do live streams on location when possible. We're just not going to let anybody know that where we're going when we're going there.
We won't do it from, we talked about this, not from publicly recognizable areas. We'll do it from areas where nobody will know where we're at. We can get signal, but as far as like going, we're here at the LBL.
Yeah.
Brown Mountain is a little different.
We'll just show up there and then start the live stream.
Start the live stream without telling
because you're not getting to Brown Mountain.
You ain't getting to Brown Mountain to mess with us.
Yeah. But yeah, I just want to kind of bring that up that we are going to continue to do on location live streams as we go forward. We're just not going to announce anything, or it'll just happen when it happens. Just because our safety was compromised. Our safety and our freedom was compromised.
Yeah, exactly. So we had to explain, and not so many. We've never really gone into what happened, and I don't think we will. But
probably not.
We're just tourists. We're just what? No, that's crazy. No, we're not doing anything like that.
Dog, what?
We're just. Catherine Gay. She's like, you guys would just really not asking much, man. Just take your mouse, move it over, hover over the thumbs up.
Just see
or
how
you can give us a thumbs down. It don't matter.
Just to see how it feels.
Just a little attention's all we're asking for. We're like that kid that acts out. He doesn't care if dad disciplines him or gives him a cookie.
Hit that like button.
He just wants the attention.
We'll spill those ranger beans.
We'll spill those ranger beans.
Oh, goodness. All right.
Talking about roadkill, me in bathing suits.
They were talking about your forehead vein earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what's cool though, because again, I'm a good generalist, but I don't have like the
Sean Blevins is a Microtech hater.
Sean Blevins. That doesn't surprise me though.
Wait, Sean, didn't you send me a Microtech?
Yeah, he did. That's why he hates it. So yeah.
April Black says Martin's story was the most compelling ever. Absolutely chilling. I agree. I've heard it in person several times at this point, and I still cannot listen to it enough.
Following up with, not today, Saban, Martin Groves has the vibe of a guy you could meet in passing, sitting on a park bench and want to be his friends for life. Love is, we had corresponded with him because what's weird is that we're starting to see this from our point of view. We're starting to see the people that are like serious about this stuff all kind of start to gravitate towards each other. I've noticed that out of the people who have tried to randomly pick feuds with us for no reason, at no point have I gone, oh, I can't believe that person. I really, it's generally people, yeah, you don't go, oh, really? They think that about us? That's terrible. The people that tend to take it seriously are all kind of gravitating together.
Yeah.
And it's the names you always hear us mention on here. So we had already, but then, yeah, we met Martin and we were just like that. And what's crazy is we'll be out with him. And that's why he is bringing so much to the field, is that we can't just randomly walk into a police station and then 5 minutes later be in the sheriff's office slapping each other on the back and then get the lowdown on what's really going on. Martin Groves can. And then Martin Groves can also hang out on the front porch of an old country store, or an old gas station and buy somebody a Coca-Cola. And then 5 minutes later, just be hearing like stories that they've never even told their wife before. So it's that ability to kind of operate in any sort of social environment that,
We're going to do some Martin Groves praise here. We're going to go with Richard Cox. He says, Martin Groves moved my soul with his story. I'm a cop a former cop and investigator, and I feel his sincerity. Sam Burton says, I agree with what everyone is saying about Martin Groves. He and Barton Nenley are just the real deal. And Annabelle Schlatter says Martin Groves is the reason we drove down to the LBL for the first time back in February.
This is what Monster Fest is going to be.
We heard his story and knew it was true.
We're just going to be standing at the end of the table like a bunch of freaking rubes.
We're going to be holding Martin Groves' coat.
We'll be like dabbing his forehead, the sweat off as he signs like autographs. Go get me a Coke, boy. Yes, sir,
yeah,
Mr. Groves.
If you guys,
yes, sir.
I know I mentioned this earlier in the stream, but we got quite a few more people in here now. If you guys are going to come to Monster Fest on June 3rd, it's Saturday, June 3rd in Canton, Ohio at the Doubletree, downtown Canton, Ohio. Monster Fest, it's put on by Small Town Monsters at Seth Breedlove and Company. Martin Groves will be at our table. We're going to have a table there because we are one of the sponsors of Monster Fest. So our table will be located between the speakers hall and the vendors hall. It's going to be Joe, myself, Dewey Edwards, and Martin Groves hanging out all day at the Hellbent Holler hangout table.
Hellbent Holler Lounge. So
the Hellbent Holler hangout. If we can acquire a couch, that'd be cool.
We might steal it.
We're going to steal a couch from somewhere in the
Martin
hotel.
will talk our way into a couch. Hey, y'all mind if we take this couch?
We're just going to move this downstairs.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's cool because, again, there are certain people that are, I think, just like with the UFO thing on a smaller scale so far. There were people for years that would talk about it and try to explain what was going on with the community, and people just didn't take it seriously because for every one of those stories, there were 10 just crazy things that were just made up. And I'm a prophet. The Star Children have chosen me, grifters and, and con men, basically. And then now there's serious people that are bringing what's really going on. That's starting to become front and center and not the sensationalized stuff. You're starting to see that with Dogman. You're starting to see that with, again, I can't tell you what it is. We've got a thermal of something that matches the Beast of LBL.
Yeah.
What it looks like. And this is our story of what happened. We've had other things happen. And now people like Martin are coming out. And again, if somebody is giving you a very impressive resume, but they don't want their name, you can look the man in the eye, his name, hear his story, judge him for yourself. And I've yet to have anybody go, this dude's full of crap. So.
Yeah. Talking about going out into the woods, Spooktator Bob says, be careful out there. Several years ago, a volunteer firefighter near London, Kentucky was bitten by a tick and he is now paralyzed. So that's one of the reasons Joe and I are not going to the LBL during the summer. Last summer, we went to the Dogman conference in Paris, Tennessee. And out of all of those people there, we were the only ones that went to the freaking LBL.
Some people went like the following,
well, Anna Jonestead was actually camping there. So she was there. Jonestead and was there and she was camping. But we went there and We went back the next day because we found some really crazy evidence. And then we went back the next day and we got so covered in ticks. We had to use a lint roller because they're the tiny little seed ticks. We had to use the lint roller to get them off of us and went through like 15 or 20 sheets. So there were hundreds of ticks on us. So if you go out there, make sure you are using protection because they will bite you. You'll get Lyme disease. You'll get Rocky Mountain spotted fever. That is no joke.
Kentucky Boy 22, forgive me if y'all have discussed this previously, but what do you guys think was swinging from the treetops that you guys briefly captured? We all know what that is. I don't know. I was leaning towards it was a trick of the camera until some people slowed the footage down and sent it to us. And it looks like a bipedal figure swinging. And I don't think it's swinging on a vine. To me, it looked like
swinging from tree to tree, like going from one tree to the other. And we captured it. Joe was turning around and just got it in a sweep and got it. And like he said, somebody slowed it down for us. I
don't know. I'm still not convinced of what it is. If it's anything, I'm just not as sure that it's nothing.
Something.
You and I were disagreeing on that completely. And I was like, it's nothing. It's a trick of this. But after seeing the slowed down footage, it's something I don't know what.
And you can see the trees bending with its weight, whatever it is. We have no freaking clue what it is. Like I have no clue.
And everybody's going, you would have heard it. You would think so, right?
Yeah.
I can tell you what it's not. It's not a turkey. It's a turkey.
Turkeys don't have hands.
Turkeys don't have hands, and turkeys aren't that high up in the air. And you would have heard a turkey. Okay, you would have heard a freaking turkey.
They don't go from tree to tree like
we scare up turkeys on not a regular basis, but we've done it before. You'll hear a turkey. It's not a groundhog or a tree squirrel or
a bough of leaves.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know. But the people that have gone, you would have heard it, are right. Well, I can't say we would have heard it. We should have heard it. We should have heard, if nothing else, we should have heard, even if the creature, even if whatever it was itself was completely quiet, we should have heard the disturbance in the trees, and we didn't. And I have no answer for that. So I got no answer for it. No answer. It's something, if you have an idea, and I'm not even doing this to be like self-promote, drop us a line at Hellbent Holler. No, seriously, if you have an idea of what you think it is, and you're willing to at least discuss it rationally, shoot us an email at hellbentholler.com. I'm hellishly behind in emails. She's behind in messages. We're insanely behind in everything, as usual, more so than now, but we're catching up. But drop me a line and we'll look into it.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Here's the sort of thing that you believe, okay? EREV. I might have seen a red dog man run across the highway one night. Too fast to really tell, but it was upright, leaning forward, almost had a shudder effect. That I believe. You know what I'm saying? Let me tell you about this mystery that I've seen. Somebody who's going to come forward and go, let me tell you every single detail about what's going on, but I can't tell you why I know this. You know what I'm saying? Or how I know this. Then I generally don't believe anything like that.
Lance Landmark asks, how do I listen to Martin? I never have.
We'll post I may find out what he suggests as far as because he's on a few things.
Yeah.
I know that Barton Nunley has interviewed him, has an interview with him. And I'll find out which one he wants shared out, which one he thinks is the best representation. And I'll probably share that there. Lance Landmark, hurry up. I can't wait. Annabelle Slater. And I think Annabelle said she found us from Martin Groves, and she's saying she's the Cold Steel family.
See, you're going to fit right in.
We are big on like vintage Cold Steel and then Cold Steel folders because I like the triad lock. Triad lock's awesome. So
Frank's here. Frank is taking us to Taggart's Ice Cream Parlor in Canton, Ohio.
All right. Ever since you started asking if it would kill me to hit the like button, I've been afraid of it. Ranger Beans, lead the swamp guy. Our chat is just...
I know, the best. Everybody's talking about just Rocky Mountain spotted fever and Lyme disease and how terrible it is. So
how terrible it is in Ohio.
Yeah. Make sure that you guys do take care of yourself when you go out in the woods.
This is important. Martin Groves, he never changes his story. He will, however, and you can take it from the what's the word I'm looking for?
From the horse's mouth?
Horse's mouth. That's not what I was looking for, but that works.
Straight from the horse's mouth.
Martin Groves' story will not change, but you will probably hear additional things that, because as Martin's, we're not sharing anything now, but Martin's been that experience was the catalyst for him, but he's been investigating this stuff ever since that happened.
And that incident occurred in 1993.
So it 92 or 93?
93.
Okay. And he's been investigating this stuff ever since then. And when he had to retire from law enforcement because of injuries that he suffered, he's been doing this pretty much full time. So much so that sometimes we're like, slow down, everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's gonna be all right. But he's a man on a mission, because here's the deal. He's a man on a mission that now people are starting to know, but he's been on a man on a mission for decades at this point. So his story, there's more stuff that went on with it. And he's kind of alluded to that, but I will tell you this, that we've been privy to some of his investigative results that he has found. And he's been kind enough to kind of share some stuff with us. And it's like mind-boggling, to be honest with you. It's absolutely mind-boggling.
Well, that's what happens when you have a professional on the case.
Well, I mean, it's weird because, and I'm not going to mention any names on this, and he might even be in the chat right now, but a friend of ours who is a homicide detective reached out to me just today going, I heard you all mention Martin Groves, and I went and listened to this. I would very much like to get in touch with him.
Yeah.
Because this gentleman is also involved in the realm of Bigfoot research, and he's starting to kind of dip his toe in some strange waters, and he was blown away with Martin Groves. And I think the two of them are going to be able to share some really good stories. But so that is somebody who is trained to investigate homicides, has heard Martin Groves' story, and it's just instantly like, this guy ain't lying, this guy ain't lying.
Talk about the tree, the thing in the tree that they think it was definitely swinging from the tree. Of course, Stingray 1975 is lodging a guess on what it is. Cocaine turkey.
Cocaine turkey. We've probably tripped some sort of like YouTube algorithm for all the cocaine dogman talk. So,
we actually watched Cocaine Bear the other day.
Wasn't bad, man.
It wasn't bad. It was very gruesome, actually. It was very gruesome. I had to give props to my boy, the Cocaine Bear.
People are talking about, and I've mentioned this in the past, but there is and I'm trying to pull it up right now, talking about the ticks in the LBL and how certain areas of the LBL, the ticks are worse than any other area people have ever experienced.
Yeah.
There have been studies done, and I can't find them, so I'm just going to go off the top of my head. There's been studies done.
Can I run to the restroom? Because I know you're going to go into the study about the tick.
The study of the tick.
The study of the tick.
But
I'll be right back.
High electromagnetic fields have an effect on tick behavior and their, let's just call it migration. Certain frequencies can make ticks gather in that particular spot, and certain frequencies can make them vacate a spot and go into another area. And they have done this by getting, I guess, a box of ticks and putting like some sort of device in there that can generate a particular, electromagnetic field. And so I've always wondered, because there's stories of hidden cameras in the LBL. Bart Nunley's contact that he had talked about hidden cameras in there, and other people have talked about hidden cameras, and that my wild ass guess is that the government is aware of something going on there. How much control they have over it is anybody's guess. But seems like they're at least trying to monitor somewhat of what is going on there, whether they're controlling it or not, or maybe just trying to learn more about it. We picked up some weird stuff on a spectrum analyzer there. Weird stuff that we didn't have any phone signal and anything like that. So there wasn't any, it was just some weird signals picking up there on the spectrum analyzer. And I used to kind of poo-poo the people that were going, there's underground stuff going on there. Not so much anymore. And it's just, it makes me wonder, those areas that have like really high concentration of ticks, if there's something weird going on that kind of ties in with the weird stuff we were getting on the spectrum analyzer. And that's enough about that. That's interesting to me, but probably not to any of y'all.
Thank you for coming to my TikTok.
Yeah, my TikTok. Oh, good Lord. All right. We have not tried.
This is a good comment about the swinging thing. Sam Burton says, I think that video in Georgia was the strongest support I'm aware of the little people and that the Native Americans talked about. Yeah, I didn't really think about that as a parallel too much. I think we've discussed that a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, because the size would be perfect for what the legends say.
That whole,
when it comes to Cherokee little people.
That whole greater area has stories of little people stretching back.
Oh, we found small footprints.
We've found small footprints up there
several times.
Nothing we've ever found up there like the
points directly to like Bigfoot.
Large things, and people will be like, "Oh, you're dealing with Bigfoot up there. You're dealing with Bigfoot up there." No, I don't know about that. No, you are. You're just too foolish to see it. Well, all right. Why? Why do you think we're dealing? Well, because this is what Bigfoot does. Bigfoot leaves small footprints. Well, they're juveniles. Then where are the parents? You got like some sort of Bigfoot Lost Boys thing going on up there, Nothing we've ever dealt with up there has given me the impression that it's something of larger than a man, A lot of the stuff we've experienced up there tends to make me think there's weird little small things running around up there in addition to all the other weirdness that's going on.
And the folklore supports that.
Folklore supports
the folklore of the area does not support a wild man or support Bigfoot.
And I'm not
even though there have been Bigfoot sightings in the area, the folklore just explicitly supports the presence of little people.
And we're up there a lot, and we've experienced a lot of weird stuff up there. What have we not experienced? Anything that makes me think Sasquatch, Bigfoot up there.
Yeah.
We haven't found any large footprints. Largest footprints we found up there were just a little bit bigger than me, and they didn't look like what you consider like a Bigfoot footprint would look. I just haven't seen anything up there yet.
Yeah.
Not in that particular area. So
Paul M asks, any thoughts on the glimmer beings, the predator type camo things people are seeing? I don't know.
We saw that thing in North Carolina.
In North Carolina, it was outside. It was right on the edge of the Pisgah Bear Sanctuary in the Pisgah National Forest, and that was weird. It had that glimmer.
We weren't even really on an investigation. We went up into that area, and it was raining, so we left we didn't have like the waterproof GoPros yet. We were using those GoPro knockoffs. We went to scout an area and to check it out. And we're on a trail, and I'm glad we weren't filming because we sounded like a couple of rubes. It was like, have you ever seen that Saturday Night Live sketch with like Bill Murray and Steve Martin? What the hell is that? That's how we sounded, because we're looking down the trail and we're watching water. It looked like there was saran wrap kind of stretched across part of the trail, and the water was kind of beating on it and going slowly. And we just stood there and looked at it. And then we like made our way over to it, and there was nothing there. And we're going, this looks nothing like it looked like 3 minutes ago or 2 minutes ago or whatever. This is the weirdest thing ever. I don't know. There's something to that, whether it is some sort of natural effect. It's something that's kind of just on the edge of our perception with our senses, whether it's some sort of technology. I don't know. But that's something that I think at this point, at least for me, it's going on. It's happening. I don't know what it is, but it's happening. Whether it's the cloaking effect,
or if it's just something entirely different.
Different, I don't know. But I think and I know that's not a very
because a lot of people say, it's Bigfoot doing like a cloaking thing. But what if it's just something completely different?
Avoid cryptid responses.
Hello, cryptid response.
Our boy Tracker's in here.
Robert Kuchar says, with that footage and the thing in the trees where you didn't catch it, gives a good argument to release that footage when you don't think you got any evidence. Put it on an alternate account.
That's so much.
That would be
hours of, I'm talking
hundreds of hours.
I'd be more than hundreds. Thousands of hours, I think. At this point.
Because we use multiple cameras when we do stuff.
Yeah.
So double that for the amount of time we're out. We're out for 12 to 24-hour stretches sometimes.
That's on a single day investigation.
So you're looking at thousands of hours of footage.
Some days it's 12 to 14 hours, sleep for a couple of hours, do another 12 to 14 hours, sleep for a couple of hours, do a few hours and go home.
Yeah.
You get into something like the LBL, which is a multiple day thing. We actually we have like external hard drives, 3 to, we got a 20 terabyte external hard drive now, something huge. that we take with us to download because we run out of like SD cards and all that. We max out our space. Anyway, Melody had said, and I just got rid of it, Jesse and Joe, someone else had that tree thing happen, but I can't remember the channel. It's true. Somebody else caught something similar on video.
I'd love to see that.
I'd love to see that.
I
Yeah.
would love to see that because I'd like to see like if it moves like the one we got, because like that would be cool. Because then we have like 2 pieces of evidence to whatever the heck this is, you know.
Patricia Gambino Harrison's in here. Could it be something like the Jersey Devil? It might have been. I don't know. I don't have a. It was something. I just don't know what. They're talking about Tyler Guerin. There's an antibiotic you can take if you catch the tick right away. It is doxycycline. You can take doxycycline right away.
We had to take a
We took doxycycline and Z-Packs when we
prophylactic dose.
Prophylactic dose.
A prophylactic dose of doxycycline.
But we had some sick fish, and we were able to get some prophylactic doses of that.
Sean Blevins suggests when it comes to this, stay away from off deep wood spray. That stuff does not work. Our company supplies us off, and we are always covered in ticks. I use Repel 10-hour tick defense spray and have had great results. Joe and I use Sawyer brand products. We'll use the one with DEET in it all over our boots, so that when they won't even curl up your boots. We do that all the way up, probably about to the knee, and then we use another Sawyer product all over, like where our skin is exposed, and we've done pretty well doubling up on those and using those. That's worked pretty well for us. However, if you do get a tick on you, I do suggest you get a little tool called a tick key. It's a little aluminum, it looks like a large can top almost, and you take it and you could slide the tick right off you. They actually sell them in the Land Between the Lakes and the gift shop, so you can get a Land Between the Lakes tick key.
Use televisions. I will get in touch with you.
Thank you for coming to my second TikTok. Tracker says, I've heard things drop out of trees, heard the whump when it hit the ground, and the only evidence was an 8-inch bare footprints. So that sounds pretty close to what we've been dealing with this too.
Gunpowder Owl, how are you? Is the LBL some kind of cursed land? I mean, all of that area was considered the dark and bloody land where the natives were very hesitant to try to go into. They would sometimes go into hunt, but then they would get out before. They wouldn't live there. They wouldn't sleep there. We've mentioned this before, but the one person we were able to at the LBL that approached us about weird stuff without us trying to talk to them made a comment about the bitterness has soaked into the land here. Definitely seems to be like one of those window areas where there's a plethora of bizarre stuff going on. Dogman ain't the only thing running around the LBL.
No, we've gotten that weird thermal that we got. What was it on the second installment of the werewolf experiments? Towards the end there, when we're hearing those voices off into the woods and the crying and the screaming and the singing. Joe actually was scanning around with a thermal, and he caught what looks to be a large figure, but it's colder than everything around it.
It's colder than a concrete pad in the middle of the winter.
Yeah.
And it was like, what, 20, it was below freezing.
It was very cold.
And whatever it was colder than everything else around it.
Yeah.
And it was just, I'm looking at it and I'm just snapping photos. I think I took some video on it too. And then I lighted up my flashlight. There's nothing there. Go back to the thermal.
But that's, yeah, at the time we were hearing like singing in the woods and crying and stuff. So that was very strange. Very strange. There's a lot of, there's stories about all kinds of stuff in the LBL. It's a very charged piece of earth.
Now they're imagining various animals on cocaine, badgers. Oh, what else we got? Craccoons. Oh, Jesus Christ. Anyway, what am I doing with my life? Anyway.
Just living it.
Just living it. That fresh, one of our friends from across the pond, that did look like a little person, to be honest. Yes. So they're still talking about the Glimmer Man or that glimmer effect or that predator effect. And everybody's seen the movie Predator, where that kind of distorted, kind of see-through. Again, the description we gave was like saran. What we saw at least looked like saran wrap, right? like saran wrap that wasn't stretched too terribly tight, had some wrinkles in it,
Yeah.
and the
it was
water
catching the light.
and it was catching, and then the water was beating up on it.
Yeah.
That's what we saw. We couldn't tell if it was a figure. We couldn't tell anything because there's branches around it, and it's obviously raining, but it was like a distortion in the rain. Basically, is the best thing to say. I don't know if we would have realized it was there because we're in an environment that's heavily wooded. There's a lot of mountain laurels where we were, so we weren't looking at it against a flat background, so we probably wouldn't have noticed it if we hadn't seen the water beat up.
Yeah.
Or at least I wouldn't have. I mean, you might have noticed it, but
and kind of streaked down.
Yeah, it was just weird. So, so yeah, it's more and more. But in the first, I think it was the first. So one of the missing 411 movies, David Paulides talks to, I just completely faced on his name. The optics scientist. His name is on the tip of my tongue.
His wife went hunting?
Yeah, his wife went hunting and saw this thing from a hunting blind.
Probably the hunted.
I can't remember his name now. Anyway, he's a big time guy. He was one of the first real scientists to get involved in the UFO stuff. But they talked about his wife saw, and his wife actually got an image on her camera phone that when her husband looked at it, he went, "There's no way your camera should have gotten this image." And I know a thing or two because I'm an optical scientist. I'm not pulling it up.
It was in the hunted.
It was in the hunted. Probably.
Yeah. That's such a strange phenomenon. A little aside here, JM asks, who created your logo? The logo above us here, the Hellbent Holler logo with the knife and the deer skull, was created by Jonathan Dodd. He does a lot of the stuff for Small Town Monsters and other like cryptid stuff. Books,
yeah, it was awesome.
Whatnot.
We woke up one morning and he had
made this
binged on a bunch of our videos, and when I made you guys a logo, and there we went. So
yeah, Jonathan Dodd is a great artist. I think he's going to be at Monster Fest.
Yeah,
so I think he's vending at Monster Fest. So he's a great artist. He does a lot of really cool cryptid stuff, but it's Jonathan Dodd.
All right, we're coming up on the 2 hour mark.
So yeah, I think we're going to call it at 2 hours.
I think we're going to call it 2 hours. Flat Squatch, we did do. We have microtext tonight. We have microtext.
We do have microtext.
Everybody's talking about their various tick-related
incidents. Yeah. About our footage going up. N85 says you have to upload constantly for months. Yeah. It would just be insane. My internet provider would probably call me and threaten
what the hell are you guys doing there?
Yeah.
Kentucky Boy 22 years back, a few buddies of mine went up to fish at a spot in the LBL one afternoon near Grand Rivers and was met by state troopers with their lights off at the entrance. They denied my buddies. Let's see if there's two. Yeah, that's the other thing too, is that sometimes there's just here we go. There's a follow-up. To leave and not enter. They told them they weren't doing anything illegal. They ended up threatening to confiscate their belongings and vehicles. You're not the first person. You won't be the last person to tell us similar stories about that. For an area that back then had almost no law enforcement presence, to all of a sudden just have these weird, you sometimes get weird explanations of why certain parts of the recreation area closed off. Like with us, it was the hog hunt. That everybody is just going to, not everybody, but people will come out and go, they're just hunting hogs. Yes, hog hunts happen. They happen all the time.
And there are wild hogs at the LBL.
There are a lot of hogs at the LBL. Well, what was going on that day, I don't know what it was, but if that was a hog hunt, that is the strangest hog hunt. Even the people working the Welcome Center is like, we don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
When they do stuff like this, usually we know what's happening. I don't know. Can we go into that area? I guess. I don't know. I guess if there's somebody posted there telling you not to go in there, don't go in there.
That was very weird.
Yeah,
they don't have like
weird.
a set like shut off area.
Yeah.
So it was very odd. Hello, Cryptid and Paranormal Kingdom.
My boy Carlito in here? Yeah, Carlito was in here. What's up, man? So
Grace W. $10. Thank you so much. Great
Grace,
show.
thank you.
I just emailed you a tree jumping video from Breton Sawin channel. His channel is back up after being down a long time. Thank you for sending that to us. We will check that out because I'd like to compare that to what we captured. That's pretty interesting stuff.
Thank you for that $10.
Yeah,
Grace. We
really
greatly
appreciate that.
appreciate it. So,
but yeah, I really want to check that out because that's kind of one of the unsung hero pieces of footage that we captured because we didn't know we captured it. And
the only reason you even included it in the video is because we said something around that time, and what we said was important.
We saw something moving in the woods
to
on the ridge
side of it, yeah, and you were including us discussing that, and then I left kind of trying to point at the ridge, but then the camera
that was right behind us.
Yeah,
and I put the slowed down version at the beginning of the next video from the video that I got it in.
Yeah.
But it was that's weird. I know we talked about this before, like a compilation of our evidence one day, kind of a greatest hits kind of thing.
Greatest hits.
Greatest hits.
Yes. All right. If anybody's got anything else, throw it in now. Speak now. Forever hold your peace. You got anything? You got a comment? You got a.
Ereb put a link in a burning light, I think, in the comments. Did you put that in the comments? We'll check that when we get done.
I'll have to check it. So,
yeah, Breton Sawin does good work.
I didn't know his channel was back up. His channel, when he passed away, I think it was his daughters got on there and talked about how they wanted to keep the channel going, but they really didn't know anything about YouTube, but they wanted to keep it going.
So it's back up after
father's memory, and then it just went down after that.
Interesting.
So, yeah, but now it's back up.
Very interesting.
Imagine that.
Very interesting. All right, guys. If you guys have anything else, this is last call, everyone. Last call. We really appreciate you guys joining us for another Hellbent Holler Live. If you got anything else to throw in there, right now is the time. We're at the 2-hour mark, and we
got one more thing here. What's your thoughts about going underground? About us going underground? We will do shallow caves. What?
I'm scared of going into anything beyond.
Yeah,
I'm not a caver.
I'm not a spelunker.
There is a girl on Instagram, and I follow her, and her account makes me terrified. She is Petzl, like the headlamp Petzls. She's Petzl Princess on Instagram. Check out her account. She has amazing videos of her going into caves and all of her equipment and how she does it. It's wild. It is wild. You have got to check it out. I like to live vicariously through that, but that scares me because I'm just scared I'm going to get crushed or get stuck. And that just scares me badly. So, nope.
Philip Payne asked, have you felt telepathy whilst outdoors? Not
like words going into our heads or anything.
We were out somewhere, and I think you've got that footage when we found that footprint at night. That we had a night where we were following this old mountain road that had, at this point, it was overgrown then. Nowadays, it's like almost impassable. We went there in the middle of the wintertime, and it was still too thick to hardly walk without machetes.
Yeah.
And it was really slow going, but we had gotten down to this network of old mountain roads. We come around a corner, and there's a log. We had to go across the log, and on the other side of the log, there's a footprint, a giant footprint filling up with water. It was like fresh.
Yeah.
And I look at Jesse and I'm just like, we both need to prepare ourselves right now because there's an extremely good possibility we're going to come around a corner.
We're going to have a sighting.
We're going to have like a damn near face-to-face sighting because it was a real winding road. I mean, you wouldn't see 20 feet ahead of you because you were going around curves constantly. And we were like, we need to be prepared for that.
Yeah.
On that outing, when we were going in, remember you stopped and I can't remember what the word you went, does this word mean anything to you? And I went, not at all. Why? And you were like, it just went into my head really strangely.
I remember that.
Yeah. And I think we got sidetracked by the footprint.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that word is on, but we were even walking going, because we were going, I said, do you think that?
We never released that video.
Never released that video.
Yeah. We have videos we've never released. I have where we went to Lost Cove. Yeah. I have that video we never released. We have a ton of stuff we've never released. I know I talk about this a lot, doing like a Hellbent Holler from the archives kind of thing, but we have a lot of like unreleased expeditions that are just kind of waiting there. So
JM wants to know if we're worried about hillbillies like from the 1972 movie Limits. Jesse and I both grew up in small mountain towns. And despite how polished and highly attractive we both seem, we can both navigate some pretty rural settings. That being said, there are some areas you go to where it doesn't matter how country you are, they just don't like outsiders. Do you know what I'm saying? You know, you can be,
And they really don't like a girl with blue hair.
yeah, you can be from a worse holler than they are. They don't care. They just don't like outsiders. So that's something that we're always aware of. One of the biggest fears of us is in this area, at least all the recent, like, new arrivals from other parts of the country. People have come down here and they're like, let's go out hiking. And they don't go to like a regular hiking trail. They just go out in the middle of the woods and they leave their car and they come back and their Audi has been like disabled, you
drained
know,
of gas.
Yeah, tires flattened, everything like that. And it's so that happens. That's one of the things that we worry about the most, man. So yeah, that is something that we definitely keep in our minds. So all right, guys, we're wrapping it up. Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. We're gonna play some music on the outro. So if you guys want to say goodbye, Jay Meyer says I'm a knockout.
You're a knockout. You're pretty late.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us. We're glad to be back doing the live shows every Monday. We'll be back with some funny stories about from being in the woods coming up, because we're going back out in the woods again.
Grace, thank you again for the donation.
Yes, thank you, Grace. Appreciate that. We really appreciate you guys joining us tonight. Make sure before you head out that you hit the like button. And again, we're going to be at Monster Fest on June the 3rd. It's a Saturday.
2 weekends away.
So. We might do a live from there.
I think we are going to do a live.
We're going to do a live from there. We might have a few special guests. We'll be taking all the stuff. So we'll be doing some lives from there. We'll have some special guests. So make sure you guys, if you can't make it to Monster Fest, you tune in for that. Keep your notifications on. Make sure you hit that bell so that your notifications are on. Make sure you're still subscribed, all of that good stuff, because we will be, we'll have some special guests on there. And we're going to do some guest spots on some other stuff too. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's one of those get-togethers. It's actually going to be.
And again, we're not really there working.
Fun.
We're just there to hang out.
Yeah, it's not working. It's a fun one. So thank you guys so much. We really appreciate you. As always, hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. We love y'all. Y'all are the best. And we're going to crank this up. Yeah. Bye, guys.